Hey, what's going on, fam? I know it's been a while since I made a video, so I just want to bring you guys a real quick video. Won't be long, and I'm gonna try to bring you a couple of videos. I know I said I was gonna make more, and I haven't been making them as frequently as I wish. Like I always say, but videos will come. Just we're still working on the time frames on how often they do. But anyway, on to the topic of the video. Remember, and this video is going to be called The Culture of Lies, too. Remember when I was telling you guys in the last video, uh, Joey Salads and the Culture of Lies, about how something isn't right about how people sit up and sit around and just make up shit about other people? Because, like I said, when we debate racism with, and I'm going to put two articles in the description box. I'm going to put one about the incident that I'm about to discuss in this Culture of Lies Part 2 video. And I'm going to put an article on why we should stop debating racism with white people um, in the description box, because we need to stop having these discussions and debating about whether or not white supremacy is a real thing, whether or not racism is a real thing, because it is. And this article makes it clear that white people know it is too. And I brought that article up because, back on topic to the video, I brought that article up because when we have discussions about racism, a lot of times black people and white people, especially like the media and MSNBC, they will give this narrative that it's not really that they're racist, they just don't see it the way you do. And and or they're not sensitive. They just don't know because they're not black, so they haven't gone through it, so they just don't understand. So maybe they do believe something that's racist, but they don't. In their eyes, they didn't intend that belief to be racist. That's just the way the world is, because they're unable to empathize with you or put themselves in your shoes until you educate them. That's where that education myth came from, and that's why I did that video about the generation, how white supremacy is not generational, uh, because that kind of, the thing about white supremacy being something of old people, and the thing about white supremacy being something that you can educate away, those two myths are kind of linked, because once again, the old people thing and the generational lie, that's linked to quote unquote ignorance back when people didn't know better, right? So again, all the videos I make in my little contribution to Black YouTube or Black Thought or Black whatever you want to call it, um, the lessons can be linked together, because white supremacy, even though it affects various areas and takes different forms and different scenarios, it's the same thing, and it all works together to maintain itself. It's all linked together to maintain itself. And even that topic can be another video for another day. But anyway, there I go, start rambling again and going off track. Um, Again, as I started off saying, what I'm about to bring you, and I'm about to go ahead and address the incident now. In the last video, in part one, I discussed with you how this is not a situation where they just don't understand, because if you understood, if you just didn't understand, and you truly from your worldview thought that that black people are wrong because they're allowing themselves to be manipulated by a race pimps or whatever, or a race baiter, or there are some things that happen but it's not as bad, and it's racist to label all white people that, because just like it's racist to label all black people criminals because of one criminal, right? So it's racist to label all white people racist because of one or two bad white people, whatever your excuse is, right? This is the excuses that they give when they debate us on Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and whenever they want to have a problem with black people protesting police brutality, or not standing for the flag or whatever, anything that comes to do with black oppression, and they want to find an excuse to be against it. These are the kind of perspectives that they're coming from, and us as black people allow ourselves a lot of times to believe the lies, and will even push the narrative, not just white people, that they just don't understand us. And anyway, I know I'm talking a lot, so let me go ahead and hurry up. But if that was the case, then you would not have to go out and make up things that I'm wrong about. If I think the other side is wrong, if I think Republicans are going to make everybody poor, I don't have to go out and rob people and steal all their belongings and hack their bank account and empty their bank account to prove that Donald Trump is going to make them poor. If I truly believe that Donald Trump is going to make them poor, I'm just going to let him make them poor. I'm not going to go out of my way and endanger my freedom, literally endanger my freedom to prove that Donald Trump's going to make them poor by unnaturally forcing an act that I thought was going to happen by nature, because Republicans, or whatever I believe about Republicans, I'm giving a hypothetical example anyway, so this is not what I actually believe, but I'm giving a hypothetical example. So whatever I actually believed about so-called Republicans making people poor, I would think that's just going to happen. I don't have to make it happen. You get what I'm saying? Otherwise, if I have to make it happen, then I don't have faith that it's actually going to happen. Which then puts into question, can I actually, in my deepest heart of hearts, I may be able to lie to other people. Everybody can lie easily, right? But can I truly, in my heart of hearts, lie to myself and tell myself that I actually believe that Donald Trump was going to make that happen anyway if I had to force it to happen? You get what I'm saying? If I had to force it to happen, and basically it wasn't even Donald Trump that made them poor, it was me by my criminal activity that made them poor, or attempted to make them poor. So I still didn't really prove my point. And so it's not like I accelerated the result. I just committed a crime in an attempt to prove myself right, and I still didn't prove myself right. And anyway, I say all that to say, and this is the article that I'm going to put in the link in the description box. Yet again, another black, not black man, another white man has damaged, burned his own house and vandalized it in order to frame, quote unquote, Black Lives Matter. Once again, one of these white supremacists have gone out of their way. This is why I tell you, he does. This is proof that these people who debate against Black Lives Matter don't actually have a genuine, non-racist reason for being against them. Okay? Now, when black people, it depends on what kind of black person they are, whether they're a coon or they're someone considered more radical. Because people who are more considered more radical, who are against Black Lives Matter, like me, we're against Black Lives Matter for legitimate reasons. Then there's coons who are against Black Lives Matter because they're quote unquote Republicans. But I can tell you, I've met almost no white people, even really good allies, who, because they're not black, who have the insight to see that Black Lives Matter is a puppet, a front organization. The only white people that don't like Black Lives Matter is white supremacists. There's no pro-black white people who don't like Black Lives Matter for pro-black reasons, like the fact that they're a front organization for suspected white supremacists or open white supremacists. However you may see that. Uh, so anyway, back to the topic and the article, and it's gonna be the first article, and then I'll put two more links below of the other two stories that I want you guys to, or well, one's gonna be a story, one's gonna be a video. But again, and I'm about to wrap this video up. And if you haven't watched part one, watch part one so you can kind of link the two messages together. I told you guys that there is something, first of all, there's something wrong here. And there's many different theories about the source of it, but and we can get into that discussion again on another video. I kind of touched on it in part one, what it could possibly be. Who knows? But regardless of what the reason why they're doing it, the fact that it's being done, and black people need to be aware, because this is a peering into the psychology of what you're dealing with. Listen, I'm against white supremacists, but I don't feel a need to go out and infiltrate, or not even infiltrate, but because I was about to go into a bad example, let me do a better one. I don't feel a need to burn my own home. I don't feel a need to burn my own property. I don't feel a need to shoot myself, cut myself, and say white supremacists did it or a cop did it to prove that cops are killing black people or that white supremacy exists. I don't have to chain myself up to a tree and get somebody to whip me with a bullwhip and say some white supremacist jumped me at night and said, now that Trump is president, we're bringing back slavery, and then they tied me to a tree like a slave and whipped me like it was the plantation with an actual whip, with a horse whip or something, right? I don't have to, and then it was just me paying somebody to do it to me so I could say that. I don't have to go to these wild and deranged, because that's what it is, extremes to prove that I'm right about these white supremacists. Because once I have to go to that point, maybe I'm not right about these white supremacists, because, hey, I shouldn't have to make it happen if I'm right about it. It should just happen like I said it would. And if I truly believe that it would happen anyway, why am I forcing it to happen under unnatural circumstances, which still doesn't prove it, because the people I'm accusing of doing it still didn't actually do it. It's not like I did something to trick them into doing it. It's not like I made up it would even be different if they put out a fake story about a cop shooting a black man to get black people to go crazy, to then burn down their house, and what he wrote in the article was lay with pigs, fry like bacon. It would be one thing is if you did that little deception where you baited us into doing what you knew we would do. But you didn't even do that. You had to do what you said we would do. We didn't do it, so we never proved you right. You had to do it. So at the end of the day, you still didn't achieve your goal. It's not a situation of, well, I still really believe I was right, but I just accelerated the situation. So it's not like you created a false bait to make them come out as a white supremacist. I mean, not a white supremacist, but come out to make the evil Black Lives Matter come out as the violent, vandalizing, black supremacist, racist organization that it is. It's not like you put out a fake bait story. That would still be wrong, and it would still be kind of showing that you may not be right because you still had to induce the situation. But at least you didn't make somebody do something that they didn't want to do, or make up a lie and try to frame somebody in it, which is actually what they're doing. At least you didn't have to frame them. At least if you were actually right about black people, and all it takes is a real or fake incident to make them go crazy, and you could say whether the situation was real or fake, it wouldn't justify that response. Which is why I'm saying that if you had made up a fake story, you might have been kind of able to defend that and still say that doesn't make them a racist. They were just trying to prove that they're right about Black Lives Matter. You could still make a logical, I would still disagree, but you could still make a logical, rational, non-psychopathic thesis that this person is not racist They were just trying to prove that Black Lives Matter is not what it appears to be, and it's actually a violent, destructive organization that needs to be classified as a hate or terrorist group, right? But that's not what happened. As I said, you had to do it yourself. And I know my video is kind of going on, so I'm about to, I know I said I was going to shut it down like probably like 10 minutes ago. But that's just the point I want to drive home. Family, these people do are, it's not that they don't know, they don't care. It is not about justice, it is not about fairness, it is about winning. This is why integrate, and I really have to sit down. I have to do a video breaking down integration. I have to do a video breaking down Martin Luther King. We have to be disabused of Martin Luther King, because Martin Luther King is like white Jesus now. He's this fake infallible figure that needs to be discussed. I don't want to disrespect the brother, but at the same time, the level of glory, and I want to say divinity, that's given to him to a degree in the black community, and even where white people use him as a weapon against us. That needs to start to be chipped away at, because this is about the mental health of black people, and for them to just understand the reality of our situation. Anyway, I digress. Back to the topic of the video so I can try to hurry up and wrap this up. And the last thing I just discussed a little bit earlier, I mentioned how I'm going to put one more link in the description box, and it's going to be an article to a Professor Black Truth video, where he did a video discussing the same thing I discussed in part one. And I'll put, so make it 4, because I'll just go, actually, no, I won't, because if you're on my channel, you can just search it. I'm not even going, if you're not, you can't be that retarded and not be able to find part 2. Or, you know what, no, I'll put the link in the description box. I'll put the part 1 of my video in the description box. But anyway, so it'll be 4 links in the description box. But anyway, the Professor Black Truth video that I want to put in the description box, it's about the same incident I discussed in part 1 of the Culture of Lies, not the Joey Salas thing, but the other thing, the situation with the white woman who vandalized her house and made it seem like black people broke in and wrote Black Lives Matter, whatever they, whatever she spray painted on her own house and said black people did it. And this cop, this dude doing this firefighter, I said cop, firefighter. I don't know if I said cop earlier, but firefighter, excuse me, did arson his own house to frame black people. The reason why I'm putting that Professor Black Truth video, which is about the woman, is because he pointed out something, but he didn't really break it down, that I wanted to point out some of the words that she said in the video. And I encourage you to watch the whole video, but there's a certain part in the video, and I may even, what I'll do is, I don't remember it right now because I should have just did the research before I did the video, but I decided to do this like I do all my videos off the cuff. Or not off the cuff. I have a topic in my mind, but I don't like sit down and do a bunch of research before I do my videos, which I should do. And I do, and again, I do my research, just not. So it's not like I don't look at nothing. That's how I know stuff, period, is I have to do research at some time, but I don't do research for videos specifically. I just do research for knowledge, and then I take that knowledge and I put it in videos off the cuff based off what I have researched. But anyway, I didn't do any pre-research specifically for this video. That's what I'm saying. And I know I talk a lot, so be patient with me, family. I'm working on staying on topic. But anyway, this see, I got lost. I had brain farts getting on top. But anyway, this chick in this first incident that Professor Black Truth did a video about, she said something particular. She said how she wasn't hateful before, but now after this incident, she's starting to feel a little bit differently. So now let's look at that lie, because this is a woman who vandalized her own home in an attempt to frame somebody. And then this is her talking about it when she believed before her lie was exposed, right? Let's We really have to look into this lie. Like I said, and Professor Black Truth pointed it out, and the reason why I'm referring to his video is because she deleted the post obviously after she got exposed as being a liar. And but in his video he still has a screenshot of it. So, and plus Professor Black Truth is very intelligent and he's a great source of information, so you should be listening to him anyway. But like I said, Professor Black Truth didn't analyze that lie, but he did point it out. And that's what I want to discuss. Let's analyze this lie. She is sitting here. Let's think about this now. Now think about this when you see debates between black pundits and white pundits about racial issues and police brutality, right? And all of this, and how, and the moderators, and how everything's made sure to be portrayed as these are just two different sides. These are just white people. These are just white people who are not necessarily racist. They just don't see it the way you do. Just think about that whole societal mind frame and that societal mindset and that societal I don't even know what other word to put to it, but culture when it comes to black people and white people, and discussing white supremacy and systematic racism. Think about that whole aura in the air that is, again, it's not really about pure evil and unforgivable hatred. It's about misunderstandings. Think about this lie that this woman is telling. And I'm saying, think about the fact that you're applying, because think about what this woman is saying. This is something that, take away that incident, this could be a woman on CNN telling her story. Let's say that this actually happened. I'm not, you guys are always, let's say a white woman, let's say they had a town hall forum and this woman stood up, right? And this had actually happened to her, right? And it was a town hall forum between black and white people, and it was a CNN special, and it was about, let's talk about racism, finally, right? And all the black people were talking about systematic racism and police brutality, blah, blah, blah. And somebody from the white crowd could stand up and, if this incident had actually happened, say, you guys are always talking about this racism and this, that, and the other. And what we're trying to say, which is what they actually say, anytime you turn on TV or get on Twitter or get on Facebook or even in real life, I promise you, you'll hear white people telling these kind of stories, and in defense against discussions about white supremacy and racism. Anyway, this woman, as I said, she could get up in this example town hall and say, well, my husband's a cop and all he does is try to serve the community and be a patriot and help people, and all he wants to do is make sure the community is safe and help everybody and love everybody and protect and serve. And just because he's a cop, and just because some bad cops did stuff, I was even neutral. I wasn't in All Lives Matter, or I wasn't against Black Lives Matter at first. I was neutral. But then they burned down my house and stole, or in this woman's case, I think she put burglarized my house. And before, I didn't feel any bad emotions about Black Lives Matter, but now I'm starting to feel a little differently. And the fact that she would feel a little hateful towards Black Lives Matter, nobody, not even Black Lives Matter members, some of them could say that she's racist because so-called Black Lives Matter people vandalized her house. That should be understandable the same way, but here's the irony. The same way that it's supposed to be understandable that black people are resentful towards cops because some cops have committed crimes against us. But nobody wants to understand that. But then that's another discussion, because nobody wants to understand black people intentionally, because white supremacy is hypocritical by nature. But everybody, even some black people, even black activists, would understand her resentment for Black Lives Matter, because people who are members of Black Lives Matter are at least affiliated and representative enough to brand her house with Black Lives Matter, burglarized her. And that incident should bring up the discussion of the irony of how, or the unfairness of always discussing what white people do and black people do stuff too, especially sometimes they're driven by talking about what white people do to them. That's their so-called frame of argument. This is the exact lie that that woman told. So if this woman will lie about it in her staged incident, you don't think that these white supremacists are not possibly lying to you when they're debating you, knowing that they're lying? They're not genuinely disagreeing. They know that Walter Scott was killed unjustly. Some of them know Freddie Gray was killed unjustly. They just don't give a damn, and they actually agree, and they really want to say he should have been killed because he was a nigga, and that's just the way it is. But they know they can't justify that, and that's why again, I say a lot of stuff. I say I need to do a lot of videos, but some of these statements I make, I really need to do a lesson to like prove it. You know, if you don't believe me or if you think it's too radical or whatever. But or even if you don't, if you just want to hear why I say it or why I believe it. But white supremacy from its genesis has felt the need to justify itself because it can't be justified under human normal rational logic and psychology. It can't be justified. So from day one, it's been seeking, just from Christianity to genetic reasons to whatever else. It's always had excuses supplied to criminality. But anyway, I digress because I need to do another video about that. And I really want to close this video out because I know it's really going on. It's probably like 50 minutes now or whatever. No, it's not. Okay, it's only 26 minutes. So damn, still too long, but it's almost over. Family, think about this when you're having these debates with white people and they're making up these lies, or they're not even, they are making up these lies when they're trying to rationalize irrational shit, like how Freddie Gray broke his own back, which they would never make that argument if for a white man whose back was found broken in the custody of police. It's not that they're that stupid, nor is it that they actually even believe that. And these repeated incidents, it's not isolated incidents, it's repeated incidents. And it's not by the same person, but it's by people who are linked by a certain genetic factor. I can say that much, which is obvious. But it's not that they even believe themselves that Freddie Gray somehow broke his own back. They just don't give a fuck. Good. I know the white man broke his back, and he should have broke it unfairly, but that's just the way it is, because we got to remind you niggas every now and then who's running shit. And that's really how I think, but I can't say that to you because it's going to start at the beginning and the end, because I said at this point, a return to white supremacy that raw, where white people could say, well, you know, honestly, I know it's wrong, but nigga, that's just the way it is. If white people really said that, even as deep as the coon gene, as deep as the coon scared coon, self-hating gene is in black people, the majority, there are still some coons who would still accept that. Don't get me wrong. You'll be shocked to the depths that some of these committed coons will go. But most black people who are not committed coons, who are only soft shoe or mild coons, which is the majority of the black population, they're coons, but they're not committed coons. You know, they're just. Or, let me shut up because I'm generalizing now, but in a place where I shouldn't be. But it is my opinion that even though there are a lot of coons in black society, and I actually do believe that the majority of us are coons, otherwise we wouldn't be under white supremacy. But what I mean is the severity of the cooning. I don't believe that it's that for most of us, even though there are some of us, for most of us, it's not so severe that a white supremacist could, at this day and age, at this point, at this stage in the system of white supremacy, start coming to us in mass scale and just saying, look, nigga, it is what it is. Just this is how we gonna do it. We're gonna have a somewhat peaceful society, but every now and then we're gonna remind you that it's still a system of white supremacy, and you just gonna eat that. You just gonna suck that shit up. That would be the beginning of the end. As I said in another video, and I know the feds are listening to my videos probably. I'm not trying to. It's not because of my ego, because I think I'm this great black leader, but I just, given with this Snowden stuff, you know, you're naive if you think that the NSA isn't monitoring black people on a mass scale, or monitoring American citizens on a mass scale. So especially black people, because even before we had all this technology, the FBI and the CIA were going out their way to sabotage and monitor and wiretap black people. Before, like I said, from J. Edgar Hoover, from the damn near the genesis and the creation of the FBI. One of its main objectives has been to monitor and sabotage black people. So and as I said, surveillance, it's mass surveillance. So it's not like it's just me there monitoring everybody, but the stuff I say probably caused them to key in on me instead of just keep it moving. But anyway, again, me rambling. I'm not saying that we have to go do something. But if we return to that level of white supremacy, somebody's going to have to go. As I said, white people do have superior weaponry. They have superior tactics. They have all the resources. They have control over the food, water, power supply. So it's no match. But if white people return to that kind of white supremacy, one of us got to go. And I don't believe that black people are to the level of cooning where we would just allow them to put us back in chattel slavery, almost, or even not even that bad, but just talk to us like that. And anyway, as I always ramble, I said that to say that's how they really feel though. But they can't say that to us because they can't rationalize it. And because they know it's illogical, it's going to create because it's an illogical response. It's going to do, it's not going to produce an illogical response. It's going to produce the only logical response. And the only logical response is to stop talking and start and get to war preparation. And white people don't want that because the way that they've been winning this war is by the fact that it's been one-sided. It's been them waging war against us. All right. It's black people. Every now and then we fight back, but for the most part, it's been a one-sided war. It's been a one-sided assault. That's why that's why we're now under complete domination, right? And that's how they like it, because that's how they win, is by it being one-sided. So what they don't want to do is trigger that kind of response in black people. That's what they're trying to avoid. That's why they don't just come out and say, hey, Freddie Gray, yeah, he didn't break his back, but so what? He was a nigga, and niggas got to be put in their place sometime. Nothing else to talk about. That's what they really want to say, but they can't, so they resort to these other so-called arguments that they don't really believe, but they're trying to make it seem like they're sincere and not racist. They just don't understand. They just don't see it the way you do. No, they do see it the way you do. They do know. That's why you had to go and knowingly burglarize your own house. That's why you had to go and knowingly burn down your own house. You knew how to start a fire, firemen. You knew that no black people robbed your house. You knew that it wasn't black people, that it was you spray painting a message on the side of your house. It's not that you just didn't understand. That wasn't a misunderstanding or an inability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You were in your own damn shoes while you were fucking spray painting your house. Yet these people, and I know I rambled and ranted, but yet these people, especially this woman, still made the same I'm just coming from a different perspective argument lie that the rest of the white people tell again. So when white people debate you like, and I need to talk about this Tommy Lauren bullshit, but that's another video. But when white people like Tommy Lauren step to black people, like she got on Trevor Noah, and now she's all friends with Trevor Noah and Charlamagne and all, that's some bullshit. But I need to make a video about that. But anyway, when people like Tommy Lauren, who have already shown you they are racist, say, well, just because I disagree with you, because that was her defense, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or that I'm a racist. But bitch, there's nothing. I don't even want to call her bitch, but she is a bitch. So there is nothing to discuss or debate, and you don't actually believe that. Because listen, what Tommy Lawrence said is the exact same shit that this white supremacist female said on Facebook. It's not that I'm bad. What did this woman say? I used to be neutral. But after this incident, now I feel some hate. I didn't feel any hate before. I just disagreed or whatever. That's what Tommy Lawrence says. This woman is Tommy Lauren with a little bit extra lie added on. That's all. But it comes from the same place. They don't believe this illogical, rational shit. They don't believe the so-called white juror. There was no evidence that showed him and these so-called undecided, that when there was nothing to be undecided about, these 5 undecided white jurors and this one white juror who was so-called couldn't morally bring himself to convict Michael Slager. It's not that they don't know that he didn't murder Walter Scott. They don't care. But they'll tell you that they don't understand, or that they really do genuinely believe that Walter Scott was gonna run back around and do something to Michael Slager, or that Mike Brown ran through bullets. It's not that they actually believe that. They don't. They just don't care. But they know under the system of white supremacy, it's off code to be that direct with black people unless they're ready for open warfare. So they won't say that, but at the end of the day, it's not that they believe that Mike Brown ran through bullets, or that Freddie Gray broke his own back, or that Walter Scott was planning to run up into the tree, put on his Spider-Man costume, and come back and whoop Michael Slager's ass or kill him. It's not none of that. They don't actually believe that. There was nothing to be undecided about that Walter Scott video. They don't actually believe none of this shit. And I'm getting kind of angry because I'm tired of black people. You have to see this. You have to see the connection between these incidents of where they're fabricating incidents and then what they say about their fabricated incident. And compare those arguments to the same arguments that people make to you when they saw Freddie Gray break his own back, when they say Freddie Gray broke his own back, and we know that that's illogical. Just as illogical as it is to sit up here and say, I didn't hate Black Lives Matter before, but now I do because of something I did to my own home to frame them and blame on them. Now I have an understandable excuse to hate them for something I did. As illogical as that line of thought is, it's the same line of illogical thought to say Freddie Gray broke his own back. And you have these 2 lines of illogical thoughts, but guess what? You have the same exact wording in defense of these 2 different illogical ass actions. You have the same defense, the same wording when you vandalize, burn down your own house, and in defense of that, well, it's not that I'm racist, I disagree, and this is why, here's proof. You're making the same argument as the one who sits up here and says Freddie Gray broke his own back, and you use the same defense. What did Tommy Lawrence say in her little interview? What did she bring up? Some made up fake ass video, internet video about black people marching down the street talking about fried pigs and all of that bullshit, when it was white people saying that shit. And you think that you seeing all these similarities, but these people don't have the same motives. They're both sitting here defending, taking a situation that is illogical and tie excuse me, the same reasoning to it. Think about that, family. Anyway, this has been a super long video. The Culture of Lies Part 2, family. 40 plus minutes. Like and subscribe. Peace.